What's going on, guys? It's Bottom Tier Collector, and today I got a bottom tier convention experience for you. Let's get into it.
What is this garbage? And why am I not in it?
Alright, guys, today was the second day of Iron City Comic Con down in Birmingham, Alabama at the East Hall in the Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center. I believe that's what it's called. It's the BJCC to all of us locals. About an hour and a half drive for me, so really not too bad. Probably the closest convention outside of my general area. The Decatur, Madison, Huntsville area is kind of what I feel like is my home area. So Birmingham's not too bad of a drive for me. Went down there largely to spend time with 22 Comics. Going to put that up front. If you watch my channel at all, if you've seen any of my budget videos, you've seen the previous budget video, you know my budget was shot. So I wasn't really going down there to shop for comic books. I had intended to get that poster behind me signed. The original 4 voice actors from the original 1987 TMNT cartoon were there. All 4 of them. One of them came in late, flight delayed. They were going to be there, and I'm not complaining about the price they were charging. I feel like if you were getting 1 or 2 signatures, it's really not that bad of a price. It was $50 a signature. It comes out to $200 if you wanted all 4 voice actors, which is what it would have cost me. And again, the budget is shot. Don't have money set aside for this special autograph project I had. So I went ahead and framed the poster. Maybe if I get another once-in-a-lifetime chance to meet up with the 4 voice actors of that TMNT cartoon, I will try to have the money set aside to get those autographs signed. But yeah, that was just out of the question for me at this convention. Ray Park didn't show up. I didn't see any of the comic book creators at their booths. Doesn't mean they weren't there. They could have been in panels, could have been at photo shoots or whatever. I don't know. But I didn't see any of the comic creators at their panels. And there was tons of pop culture stuff, t-shirt booths there. There was the typical soap and bead necklace people there. There was a fantasy novel author there. And I'm not knocking anyone and their fandom. I think all of this stuff has its place, and it does help these conventions grow and bring in revenue and keep them around if you combine all these fandoms together. I totally understand that. But me, and what I look for in nerdery and pop culture, I'm really on. What's going to draw me to a convention is your comic creator guest list. First and foremost, if your comic creator guest list is popping, I'm going to try to be there. Secondly, I'm there to meet up with friends, which is what I was there for today. Meeting up with 22 Comics, meeting up with community members / friends, getting books autographed. That's really why I go to conventions these days. I've been there. I've gotten the t-shirt, doing the whole convention experience, doing the panels, getting art commissions, taking pictures, all that kind of thing. I've never taken a picture with a celebrity, but I've gotten a picture taken with a comic book author before, buying toys, all that sort of thing, and I'm just kind of over it. I know what I like. I know what I'm looking for, and being a parent with kids these days, I'm very much more interested in the autographs and shopping for books and getting in and out of conventions. I might stop in at a video game booth and browse. I might stop in at a toy booth and browse. I'm not trying to be at a convention for 10 minutes either. I do want to have fun and enjoy myself, but I know what I'm there for, and I'm trying to make good use of my time because I got people waiting on me at home when I go to these conventions. You parents out there, you married people out there know what I'm talking about. This con didn't have it. That's kind of the point I'm trying to get to. There were four comic book vendors. Only 3 were selling comic books. Nobody had dollar bins. No dollar bins at this convention. Everything was $3 and up. One booth was totally outrageously priced. $14.99 for a Spawn 16. I understand it's first Greg Capullo on Spawn, and he might be the most prolific Spawn artist there's ever been. But even though Spawn's kind of popping off right now, let's be honest, Spawn ain't the most popular character out there. I wouldn't put Spawn in the top 50 most popular comic book characters of all time. I just wouldn't. But, you know, nevertheless, Spawn does have his place, but I still think $14.99 for Spawn 16, which has no key significance. It's just first Greg Capullo, is way too high. That's highway robbery to put it in Alabama slang terms. There's some book 22 pulled out. I can't remember the book. Pulled it out and just kind of nudged me like, hey, look at the price on this book. It was like $70 for like something that I thought should have been like $5. And I tried to hide my face, the face I made from the seller, but I was just like, ooh, that is outrageous. Tons of books. 22 was pulling out that were variants. You know, the sellers were asking for $25, and he was telling me how he was finding them in dollar bins now. And that's kind of the way these variants go. If you know, you pay the most money, they're the most usually. Now there's tons of variants out there that do hold their value and increase in value. I have one in this key box right here that has gone up big time in value. It's a 1 in 12 incentive variant. But yeah, most of the time variants lose their value, you know, once they're forgotten and the newest variant comes out, and that was the case. It was a lot of those variants that are long and forgotten, and the sellers are still holding on to them, asking top dollar. It's just crazy. One vendor had a stack of American flags, and I was just like, you know, American flag is a dollar bin mainstay. I know $2 ain't really that much for comic books, but to me, that's overpriced for American flag. And so I let the American flags go. I was hunting a little bit. I was hunting for any Jack Kirby demons. Anytime I came upon a vendor, I was quickly finding my way over to the D's and looking for any Jack Kirby demons. Didn't find any there. One vendor had some Alan Grant and Garth Ennis era demon books, and I was hoping they had some that I was looking for and didn't have that. And that was about it in the convention. And then we ran into 22 and I were in bins the whole time. We were walking around shooting the crap and talking crap about the convention, how small it was, how much it didn't have to offer. And ran into a vendor that 22 recognized. I recognize his face. I feel like I've seen him at Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo before. I don't know his business's name, or I'd give him a shout out. Seemed like a really cool dude. You know, really realistic attitude about what he's doing in the hobby and stuff. It was just nice to get his perspective on things. I was more or less a fly on the wall, just letting 22 and this guy conversate, and I was just listening and absorbing. He, in conversation, directed us to where we were looking for Sasquatch comics. Couldn't find them on the floor. They weren't on the map that 22 was using. And this gentleman told us Sasquatch was in the main lobby outside the convention selling Funkos. He didn't know if they had comics. And we made our way over to Sasquatch. All they had was just a pile of Funkos in the floor, and that was it. No comic books. So that was disappointing to both of us, as we, you know, what we were hunting for there at the convention was comic books. Waited around for 22 to get his autographs. I wasn't there to see 22 finish his autograph project on this print he has. I'm not going to say too much on this thing. I want to allow 22 the opportunity to talk about it and show this print off. But it's a cool Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles print he has, a very exclusive print. And he's got a cool story behind some of the autographs, and finished the journey. Every character that's on the print, I believe he now has their autograph. But that's all I'll say about that. I'll let 22 talk more in detail. Those of you who follow 22 Comics, go over to his channel when he posts his Iron City Comic Con video and listen to his story on that project and everything. It's a really cool idea. I need to be doing something like that, since I consider myself a signature chaser these days. But after he got an autograph or two on that print, we both rode over to Sasquatch Comics LCS, 15 minutes into the suburbs of Birmingham, and looked through there. And I gotta say, the guy's toy inventory was impressive. He had good backstock of comics. I'm not knocking his comics, but he really needs to work on his organization of his comic. He needs to put in the work. I get the idea based on this guy's store that he was a toy guy that may have bought a collection and was using that collection to kind of help prop up his business or whatever, give him some inventory. I don't know. It was organized somewhat, but then it wasn't organized. And again, this is Sasquatch Comics. The guy requested a review, so I'm giving the review here. I'm going to secretly tuck it into this Iron City Comic Con video. He had dollar bins, but then he had these very small, like $2, $3, $4, $50 price stickers on the comic books. And I will say the guy is good at customer service. The guy was walking around his store making sure people were being served, people were comfortable. He offered me a stool. I was on my knees and looking through the dollar bins in his floor, and he offered me a stool to sit on. You know, so the guy is good at customer service. I'll give him that. He was offering to hold people's stacks up at the front counter for them, so they didn't have to lug books around. I will give the guy the thumbs up for that. You know, that's really cool. I've never seen that from an LCS owner, somebody willing to take care of their customers like that. But where, you know, the biggest quip I have with this guy, we got to talk, as he made his way over to us and offered me the stool, we got to talking to him about his comic book prices. And this guy is not aware of how people in the community feel on Instagram and YouTube about this business practice. This guy openly admitted he would check any unpriced comic books at the counter. If they were unpriced in his dollar bins, then he would give us the comics for $1. But anything else, like in just the normal back issue bins, they were not cover priced. They were going to be checked for the value at the counter. That was a big turnoff, and my, you know, once I was digging through the comics and the dollar bins, my initial thoughts were I would love to set back a little bit of money, come down here on an off day when the kids are in daycare and the wife is at work. I'd just drive down here early in the morning when they open and spend a few hours in these dollar bins and see what all he's got, see if I can fill some runs and stuff. But then when he said that, I was immediately turned off. He was also saying that anything in his dollar bins that was marked $3 and under, he would consider giving us those books for $1, and anything over marked over $3 in his $1 bins, they were not going to be $1. What are you doing, guy? Why are you doing that to your customers? If you have books that are not priced at $1, do not put them in boxes labeled $1 comics. I'm sorry. I've been to enough good stores, comic book stores, that if you're honest with them and you tell them you found these books in their $1 bin, they will honor that price. I don't know where this guy gets the idea that it's okay to put a $4.50 comic book in a $1 bin randomly and say, no, that's not $1. That's got a $4. What are you doing? what's going on there? So, yeah, turned off by that. And then he didn't have a whole lot of what, really what I call my priority one books. Didn't really have a whole lot of that in his inventory, albeit it was good inventory. So, Sasquatch Comics, probably not going to be doing business with you anymore. But I would like to fit in a mini haul. I spent $11. I bought 11. I knew they were undisputed dollar books. I knew something was up when I saw these $2, $3, $4.50 stickers on his books. I just knew before he said anything about disputing the prices of his comics that the unmarked, unbagged, unboarded books were the way to go, so he wouldn't throw a fit about it. Oh, and might I add, he was making comment. Me and 22 were making our way to the register. We're in line. The guy knew we were shopping comic books in the $1 books. Could clearly see we had a stack of dollar books in our hands, and he was making comments about people that argue the price of dollar books. Trying to get 25, 50 cents off. Trying to get taxes off. I don't know if he was shooting warning shots at me and 22. I don't know if he was just making innocent banter with us. The guy was personable, had a cheerful, funny attitude, but the business practices, man, like, what are you doing? You got a nice little setup. You got a cool little store. I was intending on coming back, but bro, anyways, let's get to the haul. So first up, I picked up Weapon X #1, and I will disclose I've assumed this was a key, a very minor key, like first appearance of this version of Wolverine, or first time, because it's part of the Wolverine's Age of Apocalypse part of the story. This might be the first appearance of him as one of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. There's something of minor significance for this book, and so I brought it home. But I will disclose I couldn't find any information on Key Collector, and CLZ did not have any key information labeled on this comic book, so I don't know for sure anything about that comic book. And then I picked up a straight run here of Marvel Comics Presents. It's kind of my post-Wolverine collecting hunt. It's very casual, low-key. If I find Marvel Comics Presents and I'm not having any luck finding any more high-priority books, you guys know the deal with your side quests and your casual hunts. This is one of those for me, the Marvel Comics Presents. So this is 123. This is 124. This is 125. $126. $127. And $128. So there were more Marvel Comics Presents. There were more Marvel Comics Presents Wolverine issues that I don't really have a lot of Marvel Comics Presents. It's like I think it goes to nearly 200 issues, and I probably got like 30 issues, which is more than I thought I had, but I don't have a lot of Marvel Comics Presents. So could have walked away with a whole lot more, but I saw this straight run, and I figured why not pick up this straight run and just not have a hole right there in those numbers. So that was cool. And then I also picked up some Justice League, some 1987 Justice League before it gets dubbed international, although I do have I have 3 internationally dubbed issues of Justice League International. But first I picked up Justice League 3, again, part of the 1987 lovingly dubbed Justice League International run. And that fills a little hole there. That gives me 1, 2, 3, and 4 now of that run. And then I have Justice League International. 11. And Justice League International 13. And Justice League International 25. These were the only Justice League International issues I could find in the dollar bins. Had I found more, I probably would have made my whole stack that Justice League International run. That run is slowly, as I'm knocking out and completing more Priority 1 books, that run is slowly becoming something I'm hunting. I do plan on having a Justice League International shrine in this room eventually. I just love the series, love the roster, love the team, and I want to have a complete Justice League International run. I definitely wanted to pick up the book since Psychotronic Squirt Gun wouldn't part ways with any of his Justice League International books. No, I'm just joshing Psychotronic. If you see this video, there's no way I could ask you to part ways with a near complete run of Justice League International, when we're both hunting the series. Just closing thoughts, and I'll start off with Sasquatch Comics, since that's kind of where I'm at in explaining the day. If the guy needs to get out of that office building, it was way too compartmentalized. Now, he did a good job of dealing with the compartmentalization. One room had all the comics and all the superhero toys. One room had all the Star Wars and high-end statues and stuff. One room had all the G.I. Joe stuff. And there was another hallway. It's very compartmentalized. A hallway with like Hot Wheels. I thought of Mike Evil, because I believe it's Mike Evil that loves Hot Wheels so much. And we didn't go down the hallway. There was a room at the end of the hallway that I think was another toy room. Could have been video games. I don't know. It was a very catch-all store. And it was crowded. It wasn't very big, so I would advise that guy. Maybe he's new in business, and that was in his range of what he could afford to keep himself in that building. So no knocking on the guy for hustling, having a business, and all that. But I would advise this guy, as soon as he can afford something with an open floor plan, doesn't even have to be bigger in terms of square footage. If he can just get into something with an open floor plan. And have tables set up in the middle of the store, that would do him so much service, in my opinion. And then stop that business practice of checking books at the counter. You need to put in the work. I'm sorry, if you're going to open a comic shop, you need to put in the work. You need to, and I'm not saying organization needs to be top tier, and it's got to be the equivalent of a library in terms of but you need to have your books organized in a better fashion. They need to have some kind of a theme to them, some kind of a purpose to the organization. His organization, it was just like random run. It wasn't alphabetical order. It wasn't separated out by company. It was just like, here's a stack of Punisher, and then right next to that you might run into a run of Green Lantern. I mean, he separated out his runs real well, but no, there was no organization. So it was kind of bothersome. He had random issues laying out, and then a lot of stuff in his dollar bins was not truly dollar bin comics, and I don't appreciate that at all. I believe if a book, I understand people can misplace books and put them in dollar bins and they shouldn't be there. I understand that's a thing. But in most cases, 9 out of 10 cases, if a book is in a dollar bin, it's a dollar comic book, in my opinion. That should be your business practice. And you need to put in the work. It's going to help you become a better seller of comic books. It's going to help you better protect your business, protect yourself from being ripped off. If you put in the work to learn what the keys are, to learn the fair market value of these keys, to stay up to date as often as you can, within reason, of your fair market value on these keys. And you need to price every single issue in your store. Price them. If they're in dollar bins, that's different. Don't have to price those. You're trying to move them. put them in the dollar bins and get rid of them. But if they're in your back issue, not dollar bin, not meant to be $1 comics boxes, price them. Price every single one of them. Customers want to know how much they're spending before they get to the cash register. That is a garbage business practice, to be pricing books at the counter. No business should be pricing things at the counter. I don't care what they're selling. You need to go ahead and pre-price everything that you're trying to sell as a business. You know, closing thoughts and comments on the day. There were some people, other people than just me and 22, that complained about Iron City Comic Con. If it was my local area, you know, this is my local con, this is my stomping grounds, I'd have been much more disappointed. I would have felt like I would have felt underprivileged in my area at the state of comic book culture in Birmingham. It was culture shock to me. Huntsville, Alabama may be the Silicon Valley of Alabama. A lot of the tech jobs are there. There's so much industry booming in that area. I feel it even in Decatur. There's so much. We have a quite a sizable military base in Huntsville. So there's a lot of that military defense contracting going on in Huntsville. It's a very rich city. However, I don't feel like Huntsville is very culturally diverse. I feel like the cultural bed, you know, the bed of culture and diversity and just all that kind of stuff resides in Birmingham. You have so much football history going over 50, 60, 70, 80, maybe even 100 years in Birmingham of sports history, rich sports history. You've got some barbecue history in Birmingham. I think it's Two Moons Barbecue where Bear Bryant and Gene Stallings used to eat at. You've got so many great dive bars in Birmingham. I've got another friend, not talking about you, 22. I know you live in a different suburb of Birmingham, but I have a different buddy who lives in Irondale. And if I'm coming down to a concert, I usually try to meet up with him and maybe try to invite him. And he's taken me to some really cool dive bars in Birmingham that have a lot of great character. I went to this one dive bar that looked like it was from the 1920s. Everything was made out of wood. There was a big wooden fireplace. It just looked like somewhere you wanted to go, you know, in a three-piece pinstripe suit and smoke a pipe and drink the finest bourbon. I mean, it was a really cool dive bar. There's vinyl stores down there. There's music that has come out of Birmingham over the decades. There's a band right now that's like semi-big that's come out of Birmingham. Oh, I forget their name. They kind of got a long name, and they're kind of a bigger band. They're in that soul genre. I've been down to Birmingham for so many good underground metal and hardcore shows over the years. There's such a diverse group of residents in Birmingham, very multicultural, and downtown is usually popping. Just a unique place in Alabama. And I would think because of all that culture and because of all that influence and history, you know, there's a lot of civil rights history. I can't forget that. So much civil rights history in Birmingham. And I would think with all that history and what Birmingham means, not only to Alabama, but to the country, I would think it has a good comics culture. What I mean by that is a good network of comic book stores in Birmingham. Pardon my French, but I'm saying this because I feel bad for Birmingham. Birmingham ain't got jack shit for comic book stores. And it showed at Iron City. There was nobody there. And it really makes me understand. It really put into perspective how lucky I am to be 40-ish miles or so from Huntsville, Alabama, and to consider Huntsville and Madison and that whole area my stomping grounds for where I go hunting for comic books. There's a comic book store in my city of Decatur, but it's total trash. I boycott the store. I go to Huntsville and Madison. There's 4 legit LCS. They sell new comic books. You can have a pull list there. Stores in the Huntsville, Madison, Decatur area. I'm literally like 4 miles right now. I could almost walk to it, to a catch-all store with a great back issue selection of comics. It's a fantastic store. And then there's also chain stores like Books A Million and Second and Charles that sell comic books as well. I mean, I can spend all day just store hopping in just a 30-minute drive from my house. And going down to Birmingham, where I thought it would be much better, the comic culture would be much better, it's nothing. There's nothing that it's just Sasquatch down there and Second and Charles. There's maybe Legion, but Legion is trash. I would never, ever, ever tell anyone to go to Legion. And then there used to be Kingdom Comics, but Kingdoms went under, I guess, due to the pandemic, and that's a shame. They were a better comic book store. You know, having gone to Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo already this year, there were half a dozen vendors there, if not more than half a dozen. The toy vendors were popping. They outnumbered the more niche pop culture stuff, like the soap people and the bead necklace people and the trinket people and the purse people and the science fiction fantasy novel people, like those kind of people. You know, there was a lot of comic books there, and it advertises as a pop culture expo. It does have comic in there, but it's largely advertised as a pop culture expo. And Iron City Comic Con is advertised as a Comic Con, and it is so weak for comics. And again, I'm not angry at my experience, but it was very weak. The comic culture, again, to beat a dead horse, is weak in Birmingham, and that saddens me. And just to see that Birmingham offers everything but comics is just such a culture shock to me, because Huntsville offers comics and nothing else. It blows my mind. Just again, at the lack of a comic book culture in Birmingham. I'd like to explore, I'm closing out, guys, I promise. Closing out this video. I'd like to explore South Alabama. I'd like to get down there in Mr. Aiken's area of the world. What's on the comic? I don't know how soon that'll be. This is kind of just me talking about hopes and dreams one day. But I'd like to go south of Birmingham and explore comic shops down there. Maybe go to a South Alabama convention. See how that scene works and network with, you know, the community down there. And see how the comic book culture is in South Alabama. But you know, from where I've been, Birmingham, I've been hunting in Birmingham, been hunting in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been hunting in Tupelo, Mississippi. I've been comic book hunting in Atlanta, Georgia. Really, the only comic book culture scene that compares to Huntsville and what I have in Huntsville is Atlanta. And there are a lot of crap stores in Atlanta. There were 2 or 3. I went on a bachelor's party trip to Atlanta and hit up Dave's and one other store. They weren't great on deals, like having very good competitively priced comics, but man, they had a great selection of omnibus and trades. It was a really neat setup store. I'd love to go back. Yeah, those 2 stores stick out in my mind in the Atlanta area. That kind of compares to Huntsville, but yeah, I mean, just I'm so lucky to be where I'm at. And anybody who watches this video, if you're in the Huntsville, Alabama, Madison, Alabama, Decatur area, don't take this area for granted. Support your local comic book stores. Keep them in business, because we really are lucky to have the scene we have in Huntsville. We really are. Yeah, I'm about to run the battery out, guys. I'm going to end it here, guys. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting. Hope to see some of you in the future. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time.